Hey everybody, good morning. It is Marty, the JavaScript party here, and my buddy Rhett. She gets to come out. They came out and AT&T came out and got our internet up and running. Took her like the lady that came out was freaking sharp. I mean, she was sharp as a tack and highly focused and highly motivated to do a good job. And they had set aside a 2 hour window for her to come in and finish it, and it ended up taking her like 4 hours to get everything done. And there was like she had to lay new lines, she had to do all kinds of stuff to get our internet working right. I am 1000% sure, based on my past experiences with AT&T, that um, the AT&T people that would have come out, if they'd have come out for AT&T instead of for Earthlink, would have just got it working and moved on. They would have just quickly got it working, and then they would have just been gone. They'd been deuces. Your internet works by. Um, but with Earthlink, she had they sent somebody around. Like historically, when they send people around, the guys are hilarious. They're absolutely. I really enjoy them, but they just have like they're salty. There's what's called salty. Let me clean this off. Um, Usually they're very very salty. They generally will sort of pick arguments. They'll be like, you explain this to me, you explain why this is happening or that's happening, and I'm like, I don't know, I'm a freaking computer programmer. I'm not a network engineer. And like um, like one thing the AT&T denies, but everyone says they do it. I don't know what the deal is. This has got to be some sort of weird thing, but like towards the end of the month with AT&T, we generally our performance of our internet suffers in like the last 2 or 3 days of the month. Um, because we're heavy users, I'm pretty sure we're getting throttled at the end there. They absolutely deny throttling. One of the things that Earthlink says when they do, when you go shop to them, is they say, "Hey, we make sure you don't get throttled when you get past a certain amount." So, like, I don't know, but anyway, so the lady came out. You could tell she was way better trained than most of the people that come out. You could tell that she had a much better mentality and was much more motivated than the people that typically come out to work on our internet. And she spent hours getting our internet to work. And it still doesn't quite work right because we're supposed to get, so when we're with AT&T, we're supposed to get like 5 gigs up and 5 gigs down, and we don't get anywhere near that. And then with Earthlink, we're supposed to be guaranteed 1 gig up and 1 gig down, and we're getting about 350 to 400 megs up and down, which is pretty good. But we figure we're gonna wire up a computer with the Ethernet cord and show that we're only getting like 300 400. Call Earthlink up and say we're only getting 300 to 400 megs, because there's got to be a piece of hardware along the line somewhere that's misbehaving. Um, and it's probably they aren't going to fix it on their own, but they probably will fix it for Earthlink because Earthlink has a contract with them, and you know, so and we'll probably be helping the whole neighborhood by getting that straightened out. Anyways, I think Rhett wants her nut. You want your nut? Is that what's going on here? There you go, sweetheart. All right. So yesterday, oh, here comes the sun. It's gonna be a beautiful day. It's 8/11, June 6th, Friday. So about halfway through the pay period, and I think the 30th of this month. Yeah, the 30th of this month will mark the halfway through the year point, which is pretty cool. Um, and it's like 70 degrees out. It's actually all blue skies, but supposedly it's going to rain this afternoon. So yesterday, um, we basically updated, like sort of refactored, updating the router or updating the goal was to update this based on which route you ended up. And there was some code that, so you see the little icon change. And there was some code, but it was a bunch, and I wanted it was all in here, and then I wanted to break it up. And the biggest reason I wanted to break it up is because should have been the biggest reason should have been to make the code easier to maintain and uh, make it just more maintainable, basically, and make it easier to reason about. But the actual reason I was doing it was because I knew that I want 100% unit test coverage, and that was going to be very difficult to unit test. Um, but this is much easier to unit test, and uh, we could break it down to even more that would make it even easier to unit test. But we do have ChatGPT, which I can just copy this code here and say, hey, can you help me write a unit test? And it writes a pretty good unit test for that. But now what we wanted to do is, right now what happens is um, when we click this button, it calls this toggle function. And then the kind of the general, like the most natural path would be to then in here call some, use a service or something, a router, one of the various routing services to change the tab. But I really don't want to do it that way, because I find that to be a little bit, like, things can get kind of wonky. Um, but sometimes that is how you have to do it. Like, you'd have to do it that way if there was like some other thing you wanted to do when they, like, as a result of the union. Like, let's say we wanted to say, oh, I want to know, I want to have like a little number here of how many times they've toggled back and forth. Well, then, you need to call over here so that you can create a number and maintain that state and all that. But right now, like, as far as I can tell, as far as I can imagine, the only thing I'm ever going to want this thing to do is to change the um, the path. And when I change the path, um, then it should kick back and come back over here. But it should kick back when the path gets changed and change this domain. So basically, or this menu. So like inside of this TypeScript, what happens is we only have one way communication, and we only have one source of the truth. Um, well, that's not true. We still have this component attribute as a, so we have two sources of the truth. We have the actual URL and then the value of this layout. It would be nice if there was only one source of the truth, but I can't quite figure out how to do that. We did actually try to explore updating this based on the domain in the template, which would have been nice, because if I could have done that, then there would only be one source of the truth. But and ChatGPT actually came up with some pretty innovative and interesting code examples that, like, if you read it, it's like, wow, that would be actually nice if that worked. But none of it worked. It was just like it made it up. And that's the thing you got to realize with ChatGPT is, like, it's not factual in nature. Um, it's like, I don't know. I would say that, like, if you wanted to make a saying, it would be like, when it doesn't have to be exactly right, use artificial intelligence, because artificial intelligence is amazing at sort of getting you getting you what you think you need. But like code, it sort of turns the whole concept of code, because with regular code, it's like it doesn't work unless you get it exactly right. Well, with artificial intelligence, it never gets anything exactly right. It's on you to get it exactly right. But I'm hoping that we can not have to go in through the TypeScript, that we can just handle this so that we don't have to use the TypeScript to communicate two-way communication, because things can get weird with like infinite loops and stuff like that I just don't want to have to manage. So they do have this concept of the router link, and according to ChatGPT, I can literally replace this code like this, and that will still work, and that will actually update the URL based on that. Now, router link, I guess it doesn't know what router link is. Okay, so let's see what, I'm guessing what I need to do is I need to, I'm just going to save that and let it break. I'm guessing I need to bring in like import a router module to get this. So let's just try that. Now it would probably be faster just to ask ChatGPT, but like it's fun to actually um, do these things by hand. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with wanting your coding experience to be more pleasant. And that seems to have fixed that. Okay, tabular, custom. Oh my goodness, look how nice. That is freaking sweet. All right, so that means that I don't think I need the toggle function at all anymore. And let's see. So we are on tabular, custom, tabular, custom. So that's working perfectly. We no longer have that. Now, what's next? Well, what's next is, I think this would be a great time to do to do a commit. So it's time to do unit testing. And before, I'm just going to do a quick round of looking through the code, just making sure there's nothing stupid and maybe understand. So, okay, so this is where I created the new component and I import it, and then I guess and then it ends up in here. It's weird though, like app custom layout. Like it's weird that that isn't a new line of code. Oh, but Viz component is no longer used. So let's go ahead and get rid of that one. It is weird to me that we imported this app component at custom, but maybe I guess the only change is we moved it into layouts folder. Now this is sort of new for me, and that is we added our routes. Okay, so I want to make this bigger so I can see what the actual change was. Not that big. Okay, so before it was one line of code, which I think is a pain. I don't know why we would have ever done that to begin with. I think that must have been how it was set up. It's so much nicer to have these on different lines of code, and only 90% of it, well, some of it is this. We'd be able to see if there was any actual changes. It doesn't look like there were any actual changes. But like, let's say we made some little change in here, it'd be easier to see than if it's one long line. Second of all, it makes Git a lot easier on large teams when you have that. You know, like if one person's making some sort of change in here and somebody else is making a change in here, their likelihood of having collision goes way down when you do things vertically like this, because Git sort of stores everything on a line by line basis. So routes, this one's like all new stuff, and there's no weird console logs. I guess it may make sense to put this all on one line here. And then we're doing that. So I like doing the pushes. We could put it in here. We could just say custom route, comma, tabular route, you know, on lines, but I do like using the push better. I love you too. Okay, here's where we moved everything. And this is the work we just did. And this is more work that we just did. Descriptions, we handle our undescribed. The thing you really got to look out for in here are console logs and stuff from before. Probably would make sense to move this onto a new line. don't know if you can hear my cat for some reason. We adopted, sort of inherited, I don't know what you'd call it, a husky. And the cats, we have two cats, and they were terrified. And let's see what happens. Yeah, they were absolutely terrified and of the husky, and they just would not, like, they would just hide, like almost like catatonic. Um, and then they would go outside, and they had horrible attitudes. But then now they're starting to get used to them, and I guess I don't know what our cats complain about, but I guess she wants to get access to the rest of the house. But anyways, so if you can hear her meowing in the back there, that's what that's about. All right. So this was, I think this just got moved. App layout, custom layout. Um, it's all stuff. So, okay, we aren't using the tabular layout yet. And I think it's fine the way it is. All right, so I think that is ready for um, committing and pushing. But as per usual, we definitely want to we want to add some end-to-end tests to sort of just make sure that when this is tabular, that that we don't break this routing. Routing is something that is notoriously likely to get broken, and we're going to want to add some unit tests. I think we've already had the benefit of our unit tests because it forced me to break everything down. But anyway, so we'll do unit test first. Test. Well, I'll tell you the end-to-end test though. There's just, for some reason, whenever you're making sort of a large change like an upgrade or something like that, it is crazy how that works. You know what was weird though is like, so, oh man, I hate it when I do this. This is changed and not saved. Okay. What was crazy was that so I upgraded two applications to Angular 20. This one and another one. When I upgraded this one, I had forgotten to upgrade material, and it would not compile because there was like a render after review render or something like that was removed, and Angular material uses that, makes heavy use of that in Angular. So it was gone. So you had those 19 and 20 weren't Angular 20, and Angular Material 19 were absolutely not compatible. But in my other application, I totally forgot to do it as well, but it was able to compile. So that was weird. That was really, really strange that worked. I guess that's because of what they call apple picking, apple dropping. I don't know but where it only picks out code that it's working. Okay, so our unit test broke. What is this? That is weird. Why did the? Oh, okay, yeah. So we had a unit test that was testing the toggle. So first step would be to get rid of that. So we no longer need a unit test toggle. We have other things we need to unit test now, but not that. And it's supposed to be watching, but apparently I don't know what it watches. So let's kill this. And I don't, like I said before, I think a couple of videos back, this Karma Jasmine has been deprecated by the Angular team, and I don't think they have any concept of how crippling that is. Like, just being like, and then like they talked about it in the Angular 20 release video, and they in that video they were like, we're just good. We're thinking of one of these three. Give it a try. Let us know. And it's like, you guys are such jerks with this stuff. All right, so no provider for activated route. Okay, so this is an interesting one because most of, so it's upset in app menu component. That's this one, right? And basically the thing is we use this route, but we don't, well, yeah, we do. That's weird. Oh, activated route. So we don't see, I don't even see activated route control. This is interesting. Active. See, I don't even use activated route. This is the right one, right? App layout menu component. Yeah, that's this guy. And I don't see activated route anywhere in here. And so I don't know what to do. Event prior object. This is pretty interesting though. Object ng token path activated route. Okay. And so E not found. Okay, so I've seen this. Unit test. Let's see if right off the top it knows what to do. This seems like something that like everybody and their brother would run into. In the test setup. I never know. One of the other weird things is I never know when you're going to be um, when you're going to take something from the test or whether you're going to use the real one. It looks like we use the actual real one for that. So it's saying that in our test bed configure module, I need to add this line of code. And then I need to add like this in the providers. And it looks like they're saying I should use the of, and it's going to return stuff. Provide whatever property your components actually uses. So yeah, I don't know exactly what to do there. Param map. All right, so let's just pull these two things and just see if that works. Just make sure that there's nothing just broken. I can't see why that wouldn't work, but and this is the right one, right? App. App component should create the app. Oh, so this is okay. App layout component should create. Okay, this is app layout menu component, but it's supposed to be. Okay, so okay, app layout menu component. Okay, no, it is app layout menu component. App layout menu component should create. It doesn't look like it's using the types anymore. Activated route. Okay. So it was fine with that. Now it's saying down here in our before each in our test bed. Okay, so we don't even have a providers at all right now. So we'll add a providers. So you're saying, see how it's like in the test bed configure testing module. And then providers. And this kind of thing is just, okay, so this is weird. Why is it, wait, I think providers, oh, it should be a array, which makes sense. There we go. This is the kind of thing that's just heartbreaking in like when you're trying to get stuff done and at a job, you know, and you're just like, oh, okay, provide activated route, which is what we brought in up there, and then we're going to use this value. And I don't know exactly what the use value does, but let me do this. I've definitely used it before. I've never really dug into exactly what it is. This might be a good time to dig into that. It's kind of like one of those things where you just want to go use value. Obviously, it uses the value. Come on, dude. Look at that 97% coverage. So we got all A's still. Okay. Oh, still failed. I've seen a different error now. Okay, so I'm still seeing the exact same route, but maybe it's a different. Oh, see, this is an app component. So it looks like we need to do the same thing in here. App component, app component, app component. And then it doesn't look like we use this at all anymore. So let's go ahead and clean that up. I don't usually like to do that in regular code, but I do find myself doing that in unit tests a lot. I think the main reason is because, like, you know when unit tests break. Whereas, like, if you accidentally broke something someplace else, that probably wouldn't be so obvious. Okay, so this time I'm just going to copy the whole thing. Let's see, 8:34 Friday. Oh, okay, so they all passed, so that's the first step. We definitely have lost a lot of coverage, though. So the second step, so that's a good first step. Definitely like having them, well, yeah, having them all pass, all greens. And our unit tests are still pretty good, right? Like, they're all in the 90s, but we really want 100. And this guy is actually really bad. He's so bad. Okay, so in the app, probably should work on this one first. Set up animation join loop. So we lost this function. So we probably want to see if we can, and this is pretty easy to test, right? Because all we have to do is go, yeah, and if that animation doesn't stop working, but it does look like we should have, and for some reason we didn't have to before. It's probably a timing issue, but we should have put this in its own little function. And I don't know why this decided to break now, because I'm confident we didn't change that. And this is like one of those things that's such a pain, because we're not doing anything with animation loop. So now that means we're going to change the way animation loop works because of a unit test and risk some other code that we haven't even touched, and we didn't make any changes to that code, but for some strange reason now it doesn't pass the unit test. So if we worked at a place where they're like, we want 100%, now if someone's like, well, why are you changing code in here? It's like, yeah, because the unit test started failing. So like I said, it's probably a timing error issue, and it puts you in a really tough spot. And we wouldn't be in this spot had we initially done this as another function, and then tested this function itself. But anyway, so So what does this do? This basically constantly request animation. Um, so this is our request animation frame handler, I guess. Frame handler. And I would say this is probably the main reason why uh, this is probably the main challenge, the biggest challenge I know of for unit tests in general is like sometimes, many times, every time, they end up causing you to have to tweak your code to pass the unit tests. And sometimes then, and that's not that big of a deal, except that because it's usually a good thing, but sometimes you have to change code that you wouldn't um, change code that you wouldn't that you didn't do anything with. So suddenly now you're messing with code that you may not even understand, just so you can get the unit test passing. And again, this is another one of those examples where I don't know if we're going to have to bind. To this. Yeah, see, things are going to get more complicated because of this. We want to call layout loop, which is I don't know. It's going to be interesting because it uses this and it uses this sort of closure of itself. Yeah, I don't know if this is going to work. This is a challenge that I was not expecting to have today. Handler. Yeah, see, it doesn't know what layout loop is. And I don't think it will, even if I bind this. Yeah, see, it doesn't even know. Man, I don't know what to do. So maybe what we need to do is make layout loop a function at this level. See, like we're doing this massive refactor right now, which we really probably should not be doing. No, I think what we want to do is do this const. Loop. Okay, let's Control Z all the way back to where we were. I think what we want to do is yeah, I really don't know at this point. Okay, so I want to take this whole thing and pull it up here as yes. Can I do that? Control V. So I'm saying there's a function called layout loop. And I guess Well, it compiled. I still don't know if it's going to work. Oh, it worked. All right, so we had to do this massive freaking conceptual refactor. And we only had to do that so that we could get back to our 100% unit test goal. Is this better? I don't know, probably. But the thing is like, what if I'm on a big team and there's like different people that are just really good at the animation stuff, and now I'm having to mess with their code because when we added routing and stuff like that, the timing was off, and then the unit tests weren't getting called. Now there is possible that I could have tweaked just their unit tests, like add a little timing thing or something like that, and got it that way, which would definitely have been the better approach probably to take from a political and working in with other people perspective. But I think since I'm the only person working on all this, it makes more sense for me to do it this way. I probably would have tried to make changes in the spec though, like maybe add a timeout or add a tick or something like that to give it time to run everything. But let's see where we're at. Okay, everything seems to be working. This guy's compiling, right? Everything's good. I actually feel like this is such a fundamental change that it probably makes sense to restart it and see if it still compiles. I do like how it looks better though. I really do. And to me, it kind of makes more sense now, although, this is such an unusual thing to see in Angular, and it would be like one of the very first things anybody ran into. All right, let's see where we're at. Okay, so now, oh, did we not? Okay, so now layout loop never. Okay, so layout loop is. Okay, so we would like this function to be outside of. So we really didn't change anything, not really, because that was. I guess we did, because we did break it out into smaller pieces. So now we want this to be its own function. Right. So now I guess we want to try that again and try to create an animation frame, 846. Okay, so we're good. I don't know. I think, yeah, I was declaring victory a little bit too quickly there. I see screwy code like this all the time. I'm like, why did they do that? And now I'm starting to get a bit of a insight into why they did that. Okay, so my brackets are a little wonky. Boom, boom. See if that compiles. Okay, so that compiled. See if it works. Normally when it compiles it works, but when you're doing stuff like this, that is not the case a lot of times. Well, it looks like our coverage went up. Okay, so now we have this one section down here. And so it looks like we just want to call the request animation frame handler now, and that should do it. Let's see what happens. So this is app component spec. So I'm just curious if it should test that. This is not what I want to do, but I do want to try it. So this is app dot, because this doesn't accept anything, so let's just see if it works. Let's see where we get here. So I wonder, like, is there anything we really want? I mean, all I care about is coverage, so I guess it makes sense just to put it right before. So that's pretty good. Let me kind of circle around and just take a look at our. So you've got to admit, right? Like if you were doing pull requests and somebody just added routing and now they've made changes in here, you're like, and these changes, the changes that we've made here, you've got to be like, what are you doing? You're just like off the rails, making crazy changes. Let's see, this is app TypeScript. I mean, these changes just seem insane. You know, why would you do this? But it's like, well, now our unit tests pass. And I guess you might go in here and see, oh, okay, we had to change stuff in the unit tests, and so you might be okay with it. But yeah, that would definitely give me pause. All right, so where are we? So basically, we are at 100 all the way through on everything except for app layout menu. And then we've got 0 of our 4 branches, 30 for only 5 of 13 statements, and 5 of 13 lines. So yeah, we just need to test this stuff in here. That shouldn't be too bad. So pretty happy with that. Should be fairly easy to get that unit tested tomorrow. It's 8:51 now, so I only have like 4 minutes before I would need to log off. So I think it makes sense. Handle router events and set layout. And then I think both of these would be pretty easy to test, unit tests. I think I worked out pretty good yesterday, like sort of teeing myself up for the next day, saying like, I think it actually did, or it actually had already, ChatGPT had already given me a thing. So you can see how often I use ChatGPT. But maybe I should just start a new chat for tomorrow so I can have that tomorrow. With an Angular Karma Jasmine unit test for Oh, you know what? So it gave me a test the other day, but I think I like this one better because you actually import. I think the last time it actually made me like a mock. This actually uses the same one. Um, I think most of this is already done. And then, yeah, looks like this is probably a navigation start in. I don't think I need the spy on. There's the alt component. And I wonder if that'll actually, I think that will actually execute my um, set, but I don't think it'll get me 100%. So I think it'll execute this, but it probably won't even, well, yeah, I'll probably do this and then it won't hit either of these. And then I'll have to say, can you help me do this? This layout equals custom. But yeah, so that should be pretty quick tomorrow, and hopefully tomorrow then I can get started on the end-to-end test. And basically, I'm just gonna say it's gonna be a new test suite for routing, and for now, all it'll do is try the two different routes and make sure that the um, that this guy is right based on that the menu is the correct menu based on the route. And then it'll click the menu and make sure that the route is right based on, you know, what you clicked. And then in the future, when I start monkeying around with things, especially if I have to, like, especially if I have to like make changes that aren't even really related to the work I'm doing because I want to get unit tests passing, the end-to-end testing will catch if I inadvertently broke something. So now it's 8:55. So happy coding, everybody. Have a wonderful weekend. Have a great Friday. Uh, Bye.